Hello, everybody. Welcome back. You are watching and listening to the Belly Up Fantasy Live Football Edition on this Tuesday night pre-draft. The draft's 2 days away, guys. The draft's 2 days away, guys. The draft's 2 days away, guys. You're going to see me super excited on Thursday night and Friday night because the Belly Up Sports' MDs and BUFL's NFL draft coverage will be kicking off at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on your favorite social media accounts, on YouTube, pretty much everywhere you want to go. At Belly Up Fantasy on Thursday night, at Belly Up MDFF Show on Friday night, and the MD's Fantasy Football YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe because you're not going to miss a thing. We're going to go over pick-by-pick betting. We're going to fantasy analysis, football analysis. Everybody's face that you see on this stream right now will be on the draft at one point or another. Chris Dowhauer and I will be on it from start to finish on Thursday and Friday. All of that is coming up in just 2 days. Still so much prep work to do. But today's show, I thought it'd be really interesting if we did a pre-draft rookie mock draft, and maybe we'll do one right after the NFL draft on our following episode, and then we can kind of reflect and compare the drastic value differences that we're going to come across as we go through this mock draft today. It's going to be a startup rookie five round, 12 team mock draft. We're going to go through some computers as well. We do have one more person who's going to hopefully be joining the show really soon. But for now, I'm joined with the normal crew of Adam and Dowhauer. How you doing, guys? Chris, as always, never.
Thank you for muting me.
You mute yourself, sir. I have to unmute you. When we play the intro video, it mutes you, and then you have to unmute yourself. Yes, I have to teach these guys as we're streaming live. This is what we do here. Go ahead.
Sorry. I was trying to say I was super excited because it's my favorite part of the season, which is the draft. This is my first mock draft. I've been doing this entire season, and we get to actually follow this Thursday with our show coming. As Dan kind of pointed out, we're going to be everywhere with all kinds of guests. I'm super excited for the coming show as well.
Adam, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Excited to talk some Dynasty on this show, and excited for the draft, all that comes with it, and the big draft show this Thursday, Friday.
Yeah, Adam, you are going to be on for the first 5 picks in the first round, and then the second round you'll be coming on from picks 57 and 64, and then I believe you're going to be on at the end of the late third round as well, to pick 77 on to the rest of the draft. So you're going to see a lot of Adam guys, which is big because Adam's one of our top dynasty minds. That's why this draft, this show is going to be right up his alley. I expect you to smoke us. That's what I expect from you. We'll see what happens, though, because I have a pretty good feeling, or idea at least, of what my mindset is on these guys that we're going to be talking about in just a few minutes. Chad is working on getting in here in just a few moments, so we'll wait for him to start this. What I'll do is I'll tee this up. We're going to be talking about, like I said, it's a startup rookie draft, so it's going to be a snake draft. It's not going to be a linear draft. You do usually have your linear rookie drafts after you already know, who is the worst team, who's the championship team. When you start up, the most fair way to do any kind of startup is to do snake. Plain and simple. So that's why we're going to do it from that aspect here today. Again, it's going to be 12 teams. It's only going to be 4 of us, though. So we're going to have a lot of computer picks that we're going to kind of go over, which are going to mostly draft off of ADP with a little bit of unpredictability. So we'll be able to kind of work all that in as well. And we have our main man. This was my fault, guys, by the way. I sent out the wrong link. But we have our main man, Chad, coming in, joining us, filling in for Lamaro, and he's going to have a lot of great things to say because Chad's been on a tear. If you guys haven't seen his articles, I don't know how you missed it at this point, but go ahead, check him out at bellyupfantasysports.com. He's been the one doing all of the offseason moves you need to know by position. Incredibly insightful with expectations of what these guys are going to do in their new locations. Chad, how are you this evening?
I'm doing excellent, guys. Good to be here. How's everyone doing?
We're doing great. Super excited to get this thing kicked off. Before we do, though, I got to give a big shout out to our sponsor of the evening, which is Manscaped. And with the first pick of the 2021 men's grooming draft, the Ball Saxonville Sagwires selected Manscaped, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming. It looks like Mel Kiper gave this an A+ grade because this pick is a major upgrade for that Bush defense. For all of my NFL draft fans out there, we have an exclusive 20% off promo code BELLYUPFANTASY at manscaped.com. That'll get you 20% off and free international shipping. This is the reason why Manscaped is the guaranteed #1 pick, because they have the performance package. This package is the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Inside the performance package, you're going to find products and liquid formulations that have been developed to turn your bathroom into a salon for your balls. So support the show and get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code BELLYUPFANTASY at manscaped.com. And we're going to be giving out a couple of Manscaped giveaways during the NFL draft stream as well. So just more and more reasons to make sure you guys tune in. Talked about Adam joining. Chad's going to be on there as well in the 3rd round. I believe picks 77 to 82 is when you're going to get to see him. So he's going to be giving us that deep dive knowledge that he has. And we're going to get to see it on display here, right, Chad?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. So let's get this thing kicked off. Now, unfortunately, I was not able to figure out a way to get this thing up on the stream, so you guys are going to have to listen to me announce these picks. Now, I believe of all of us, Chad is going to have the top pick to start off with, but of course, like I said before, it is a stake draft. As far as the scoring format goes, we're treating this as if it's a 1-quarterback dynasty league, half-point PPR. That's how we're treating this thing through these 5 rounds of these rookie mock drafts. So I'm going to go ahead and start this, fellas. I hope you guys all have your apps up and running. The computer is on the clock at pick 101. Now, in a 1-quarterback dynasty league, and we'll go to Chad here first on this one. Are you automatically drafting a Trevor Lawrence if you had the #1 pick? You have the #2 pick, just so everybody knows.
Yeah, no, I'm avoiding it. I mean, you got to capitalize on those position skill players, really. And I was reading into it there. A lot of people are actually in 1-quarterback leagues here, maybe targeting those top quarterbacks in the back end of the 2nd round. Even they're going a little bit later, or even a little bit earlier, I should say.
Yeah, well, they are. Look, in the 2-quarterback leagues, I think it becomes pretty prudent that and the computer for some reason won't make its pick, but it becomes pretty prudent that you have to take them at that point. But when the 1-quarterback leagues, don't jump at those quarterbacks. I mean, right, Adam?
Yeah, exactly. In the 1-quarterback leagues, you really want to, get the depth and the talent at those skill positions. Whereas in your 2-quarterback leagues, I mean, in my current league, I fully expect 5 out of the first 6 picks to be quarterbacks. So there's definitely, I think that's the biggest difference in between the two, is the quarterback value is way different.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. All right, Chad, you are on the clock. The first pick was Najee Harris by the computer. We'll talk about that in a second. But, Chad, go ahead and make your selection.
All right, I am going for... Come on. Draft him for me.
I think I have to resume it, I guess. Here we go.
Oh, there we go. Okay, it's coming in, guys.
Coming in hot. The pick is in, and it's Jamar Chase off the board. So I'm going to pause this real quick and talk about the next few picks. We'll talk about why I took Jamar Chase there with #2.
All right, it has nothing to do with Devontae Smith not thinking he's going to succeed in the NFL. I really do think he is. I just believe Jamar Chase, he's going to be good. He has the same type of frame you see in a Julio Jones or AJ Green, and he has that physicality I think he's going to be able to bring to the board right away, year 1.
Dahar, what do you think about that pick?
I mean, I think that's a smart pick. I mean, I think he's the best receiver in the board, and as he's pointing out, he's got the long-term success rate probably going in his favor. I think it's a solid pick.
Awesome. Now, the next 2 picks were the computer, and they came off Travis Etienne and Trevor Lawrence. Dahar, what do you think about the computer picks there at 3 and 4?
I think Etienne's a little higher than I probably would have took him, but I know a lot of people are a big fan of his. And like as Adam kind of pointed out, you're looking for some depth at the running back position and skill position. So I can understand why they went that route. Trevor Lawrence going #4 kind of challenges the notion of how high do we go with the quarterback. It seems like the computer values that quarterback pretty high there.
Well, I guess it depends on what your team makeup is too. And you always kind of have to infer that. But Trevor Lawrence is probably going to go. His ADP has been the top 5, even in one quarterback leagues. That really hasn't changed too much. It's depending upon whether he goes number 1 and then where the rest of the quarterbacks kind of follow up behind that. But I'm curious to see what Adam's thoughts are on Travis Etienne going at the 3rd pick there.
Oh, yeah. I don't think that's too far from what you're going to see in most drafts. I know both of you are Williams over him guys, but I think that's fair value for him, I guess I would say. That's about where I think he'll go in a lot of drafts, in the 3 to 5 range.
So while Adam was talking, Chris Dowhauer made his pick, and he takes Kyle Pitts, runs to it, and takes Kyle Pitts at number 5. Chris, go ahead.
I'm going for the rarity. We all know tight ends is a pain in the butt to find. It was a position to kind of feel good ones, and I'm trying to get the best one on the board, and a guy who also that in a half-point PPR, I think he's going to have plenty of receptions.
What do you think about that pick, Chad?
You know what? I don't blame you for doing it, man. I really don't. Like he's been saying he's the unicorn of the draft, and personally, I just because tight ends typically do take a few years to develop in the league here. I personally I don't like spending a 1st round pick on one. I mean, I'm probably going to be wrong, and he's going to blow up and be like Kelsey right away, right in year 1. But I mean, I think so far the steal in the draft is Devonta Smith going at 108.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that in a split second. But I do think Kyle Pitts is a good pick at number 5. I really do.
I agree. I wouldn't do it, but I do not discredit you in doing it whatsoever. Like it's a smart move. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with for a long time. He's just someone I would rather trade for down the line.
No, well, because what I was going to bring up is that's the debate on Kyle Pitts right now. Is Kyle Pitts that much more of a special athlete, a special player, comparative to what the track record of these rookie tight ends wind up being? And I think that's really the debate on where you're going to value him in that sense. If he winds up at Atlanta at 4, and that seems to be where it's going unless Atlanta trades back, that I think is what people are going to jump on at that spot at number 5. So it's a nice little value pick there. Adam did make, I'm going to pause this before the clock runs out on me here. After Chris made his pick, we had Javonte Williams, Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith all come off the board there. Adam, you made your pick in Rashad Bateman. Are you a little bit bitter that both the Alabama wide receivers came off before you got to make your pick there?
Yeah, that was pretty tough, but it pretty much came down to Michael Carter versus Bateman there for me. There are some, as you know, I value Elijah Moore very, very highly. However, I think that slot receiver is pretty deep in this draft class, whereas, I want to lock in a guy on the outside. I trust Bateman a lot more to be an instant player than Terrace Marshall. And after those two, the guys on the outside fall off pretty hard. So I feel like if I want to get someone who's going to play out of the slot, I can do that later. I don't think that there's going to be many options going forward for a guy that can be a dominant wide receiver 2, wide receiver 1 on the outside.
I'm 100% in agreement with you. I think it's a big reason why Rashad Bateman has, not just because I think he actually is really good, but why he has so much value in this draft in particular. Hit the nail on the head there. He's one of the few true perimeter wide receivers that you're going to be able to get in this draft. If you're looking for a guy to actually lead your wide receiver corps, he's going to have to be the one. He's going to have to be the guy who can be on the perimeter, be the physical specimen, run the full route tree, be that guy that you build around. As much as you love Elijah Moore, as much as I love Rondale Moore, at the end of the day, there's a limit to what they're going to be able to bring to the table as far as their ceiling really goes there. Right after Adam went Rondale Moore and Justin Fields. So, Chad, what do you think about Justin Fields going to pick 11 while I make my pick?
I mean, hey, if he ends up with the 49ers, he might be pretty good this year.
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick, because now the media is going crazy, right? It seems like it's purely Mac Jones or Trey Lance. Justin Fields has essentially been left out of the conversation. What do you think about that, Dowhauer? Because I know you had some early predictions on it being Trey Lance to begin with.
I think it's interesting. From everything I'm hearing is the 49ers have a kind of debate on their own team. You got what Kyle Shanahan wants, which seems to be Joe, and then you have what their scouts seem to want, which is Trey Lance. I think it's kind of an argument of how long are you trying to stick with Jimmy G, and how much do you want to invest now? Are you trying to get the guy who's the high potential down the road, or do you want a guy who can stick out there day one and could be a starter? It's going to be interesting to see how it kind of plays out. I'm not a big Trey Lance fan, so I kind of hope that they lean towards the smart move, but also I still can't understand how they traded all those picks for that pick.
No, I don't either. You guys are going to be in for a treat because you're going to see me. It doesn't matter what the 49ers do at 3. You're going to see me flip out.
Mad.
I'm going to be mad. Either doesn't matter what direction they go. I am going to be angry, and you're going to get to see that on the 3rd pick, which is really where this draft actually, frankly, starts at this point. As soon as Justin Fields done, it was my pick, and like I said, it's a snake, so I had the 12th pick, go back-to-back picks, which I actually liked in this instance because I got to grab 2 players I really like. I get Zach Wilson, who is my number 2 quarterback in this draft, not just from a NFL standpoint, but from a fantasy standpoint as well. I think he has the most natural arm talent, possibly this entire class, but he also has the legs of a Justin Fields, Trey Lance type of what they're going to bring to the table. He's got both. I don't care if he winds up on the Jets. Everyone needs to get this out of their mindset. This is not the same old Jets. This is not Adam Gase. This is a totally new team, a totally new regime. And while, they don't have weapons I'm going over the moon with, I do believe that in that system, it will simplify things enough, and it's built around the quarterback being able to do play-action boot, which is right up Zach Wilson's alley. He's much better throwing the ball on the run as it is anyway. I like that a lot. And then I was able to get Michael Carter, who is my 3rd running back on the board. I have him actually 1 spot ahead of Travis Etienne because why? I think he's actually a little bit more explosive. Nobody seems to want to bring that up, but when it comes to actual explosive runs, Michael Carter actually beats out Travis Etienne, and I think he's less systematic dependent than Travis Etienne is on his fit and where he's going to go. Now, having said that, would I draft in a dynasty draft Michael Carter ahead of Travis Etienne? No, I wouldn't, because I'm a guy who's going to draft based off of value. Those guys are all off the board. So to me, Michael Carter is the best running back left in this rookie draft class, and it's a no-brainer because of how highly I have him graded already as it is. Chad, do you have anything to say to that?
No, you know what? I think it's great. Like Michael Carter, I thought it was cool that you had him ahead of Travis Etienne, but I agree with what you have to say with taking the ADP value.
Thank you. Adam, I don't want to distract you actually while you're making your pick. Down, however, the next 2 picks were Kenneth Gainwell and Pat Freiermuth. You were the one who took the tight end. Give me your comments on Pat Freiermuth going that high, because even I think that's a little bit high for a questionable at best tight end.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see where he lands first and foremost. There's rumors maybe Jacksonville, some different teams out there, but I don't necessarily see him being productive his first year. As Chad was kind of pointing out, tight ends can struggle. I went with Pitts because I think he's more of a hybrid, but I understand for the most part, tight ends don't usually come out and hit the scene hard. This is a tight end I'm not overly impressed with in general. So I like to see kind of where he winds up, and I definitely question taking him in the 2nd round.
Yeah, I don't care this is a 5-round rookie draft. I don't care how desperate you are at tight end. Pat Freiermuth does 2 things well. He runs the seam well, and he is an average blocker, especially compared to the rest of this tight end class. There's no tight end outside of Kyle Pitts that I would even think about taking before the 4th round of rookie draft, because they're just not going to be that impactful at the end of the day. At least that's where I'm at. Kenneth Gainwell came on after as well. So, Adam, before we get to your draft pick that you made, is Kenneth Gainwell, is this guy going to play receiver? Is he going to be a running back? Are you taking him that high in the 2nd round just because he's a running back? What were your thoughts on that?
I think he is a very, very fun player to watch. Like, I had a good time watching his film. However, he's a guy that's going to be like Tony, going to be like some of these other gadget guys who it's going to be hard to see, real consistent fantasy value out of unless he finds himself in a role where he ends up being a Shane Vereen or a James White. Like, that is the best he can do, I think. Or I guess if he makes it into a slot receiver role some kind of way. But, that's the best you can really hope for out of him, and that's not really the ceiling that I'm looking for at the top of the 2nd.
No, maybe a Deion Lewis, but even then, that was only a flash in the pan. So let's get into your pick. You went with a running back. You went with Trey Sermon, a guy I actually like a lot, and all of a sudden, people have started to catch on to, it seems like, as of late too. So talk to me about why you like Trey Sermon there with your 4th pick in the 2nd round.
I just think he's a balanced overall, like, good back. He's not going to be too system dependent. I think he can, I think he can play wherever, and I think he's patient. And I think that's what gets guys who aren't top tier backs, who aren't, because of draft capital, forced into starting roles. I think that's what gets them on the field early, that and being good pass blockers, which I wouldn't call him an elite pass blocker, but there are certainly worse options. All of that being said, as we all discussed a week or two ago, I prefer Ramondre Stevenson, but his ADP is looking more in the top to the mid of the 3rd.
Yes,
honestly, I would probably trade back out of this pick, just looking at the board and looking at what I had available to me. But in this situation, I think Trey Sermon was the way to go.
I'm going to pause the draft because the clock was about to run out on Dowhauer there. Dowhauer, make your pick while I talk to Chad real quick about the next 3 picks that came up on the computer. Chad, we had Trey Lance, Brevin Jordan, and Terrace Marshall coming off the board. Let's throw Brevin Jordan aside because we had our comments about Pratt Fear-Myth. Go ahead.
I was hoping you were going to let me start with him. Brevin Jordan, he is someone who he came on my radar like I want to say January now. I was reading an article on him. Someone from college was writing up a profile, and they were saying that he's going to be overshadowed by Kyle Pitts. There's like everyone is going to be overshadowed by him. He's the top dog, but Brevin Jordan is going, depending where he lands in the NFL, he is going to. I think he's my sleeper tight end out of this class.
Thank you, Chad. Thank you.
Well, so you are not concerned about the concerning pro day that he had. In other words,
you know what? Could be nerves, right? It was the biggest day of his life. Like then again, he did come in a little bit overweight, right?
Yes.
Yeah. We'll see how he is when we'll see. I'll refrain to my sleeper tight end come training camp. See how he joins training camp. If he's still overweight, then no, I'm pulling that card. Yeah.
Yeah. In case you guys didn't notice there, Dowhauer and I went back and forth at it on this show 2 weeks ago, I believe it was, over Tommy Tremble and Brevin Jordan. Again, the most irrelevant debate hopefully the show will ever have again. But it's worth noting, at least in this pick for this instance. Chad, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to let you make your pick while we talk about some of the other guys that came off the board. Dowhauer, you went with Mac Jones after taking Kyle Pitts, staying away from running backs and wide receivers. Explain yourself, sir.
Well, as we've kind of talked about in the previous shows, I think there's a giant gap after the top running backs and top receivers. I think it's kind of a preference pick. So there's still guys there that I kind of like. I'm more concerned about not getting a quarterback that I don't like versus a quarterback who I think can be productive and could play sooner than later. So that's why I went with the quarterback there.
Look, here's what I'll say too. If Mac Jones does go 3 to the 49ers at 8th pick in the 2nd round, that's good value. Flat out, because he's going to have the best situation of all the quarterbacks who get drafted if he goes to the San Francisco 49ers. So his floor instantly becomes one of the highest, if not the highest, out of this class to begin with. And I'm going to add this too. If they draft Mac Jones, there was already that report today that came out that they were thinking about trading Jimmy Garoppolo by the weekend. I guarantee you they immediately trade Jimmy G if they draft Mac Jones, because Mac Jones is NFL ready. You're not gonna wait around on that. So if it's Trey Lance, though, then we might have a different scenario. Get somebody else's opinion. Adam, what's your opinion on Mac Jones?
Mac Jones, I think he's a really safe quarterback pick. I just worried, at least fantasy-wise, he'll be someone who gets in a role where he's throwing like upper 20s touchdowns, few rushing yards, and like 3,000 passing yards, and not really, being a high volume kind of guy for fantasy. I think his fantasy production, if I had to guess, I would compare it to Kirk Cousins, which high-end quarterback too. You can work with that, especially in a one quarterback league. You can absolutely start that, be perfectly fine, and stack the rest of your roster. In the 2nd round, there's definitely value in that late 2nd round. However, I don't see him as being someone that ends up as a top 12 fantasy quarterback.
So real quick, to kind of piggyback off of that, why Kirk Cousins and not Matt Ryan, who had his MVP year with Kyle Shanahan?
I think Matt Ryan had an interesting situation where he had those, crazy weapons, and it was, I don't know. Like, you remember the year before that was kind of up and down. He had the one great year with Kyle Shanahan, above average year with Kyle Shanahan, and that's just kind of been the thing. So I think he could have some really great years. I think he could be pretty inconsistent.
I mean, it's all fair. You still have a lot of questions around the 49ers weapons and who can actually stay healthy and on the field. So Chad made his pick in the second round. Before his pick came up, though, because he went with Tylan Wallace as a wide receiver. Before his pick came up, 2 receivers went off the board: Kadarius Toney and St. Brown out of USC. Now, Chad, did that affect you in any way of why you went with Tylan Wallace with your second round?
I thought Wallace was going to go first. Honestly, I'm glad I got him.
Give us a little breakdown on him.
Yeah, Tylan Wallace. He's the type of guy who I think someone here mentioned the tier drops. I can't remember who it was, but anyways, Tylan Wallace is at the top of the 3rd tier wide receivers for me in this wide receiver class. And when you're at the top of the bottom tier, I consider that part of that upper tier. Anyways, it's so close. I'm not going to nitpick, but he's going to be good. He has length, speed, and he's going to be able to make plays down the field. He's going to be a big play guy, and I think he's going to. I have a feeling about him. Him and I didn't get him. Who grabbed him before me? He's moved up in the Terrace Marshall. He's the other guy who I really like. Tylan Wallace, Terrace Marshall are the 2 wide receivers out of the first round who I love.
So you're looking for those big play threats.
Yeah.
Look, I think there's a lot of similarities between a Tylan Wallace and a Darius Slayton, who came out in his rookie year, was really, really able to take the top off, be that kind of big play threat guy. I think there's a lot of similarities between the two, especially depending upon where he winds up at. Chad, I'm going to let you make your next pick while Chris talks to me about Jamie Newman and how wonderful Jamie Newman is not.
I mean, Jamie Newman was serviceable at Wake Forest. He had a couple, decent games here or there. He's mobile. He's an athlete. You're looking for a guy who can maybe get you some rushing yards. I don't really necessarily think he's going to be a long-term starter in the league, but I do think he might get a shot because of how teams seem to be so eager to draft a quarterback and try to make him right now. He has some skill. And like I said, he can run. He can throw a little bit on the run. Not overly accurate, not the strongest arm in the world, but a good athlete. And that might be enough to make him productive in fantasy somewhat.
Yeah, while Chris was talking, Chad made his next pick, and Chris, I'm going to let you make your pick now. Chad, you went with Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah.
Why'd you take him over Ramondre Stevenson?
You know what? For me, I was taking him over Kylan Hill. Kylan Hill, I was going back and forth with it. Kylan Hill is I don't think he's going to take a little while to develop, but again, it depends on your landing spot. I'm all about landing spots when it comes to running backs. That's the most important thing for me with the rookie running backs coming to the league here. And unless you're going to a team where there's going to be a shaky committee behind you there, or a bunch of veteran running backs on the team, there's not going to be room for you to push through. You need something like that for these players to go into. And at this point, I'm drafting ADP for my running backs because I missed on the top. I know I'm not going to have the top running backs, so I'm drafting guys who I think are going to have the best shot in a couple of years, or a year even, hopefully, to make an impact. And it's all based off ADP at this point for me with my running backs.
It's 100% based off of ADP, because this is the tricky part about having a rookie draft before the actual NFL draft. Because you're so right. Running backs, more so than any other position, depend on where I mean, maybe quarterbacks too to some degree, but running backs really depend on what their productivity is going to be on a few things. What's their draft capital and what's the system they're going to? That's heavily what it depends as far as what their dynasty outlooks are going to be. And for all of you leagues out there who are thinking about switching from a redraft or starting up a dynasty league, whatever the case may be, just make sure you don't have a rookie draft before the NFL draft, please. I see that going on. It drives me crazy. I don't understand it whatsoever because those values are going to be drastically different. That's why we're doing this mock draft now, so we could do one later, and we're going to see a drastic difference where these guys are being taken doing the same exact thing. Before we get into it any further, it is kicking off the third round, and I want you guys to know that Manscaped is going to be here for you. They want to know something. Do you have bush? They know you have bush. You know why they know you have bush? Because you don't have Manscaped. That's how they know that you have bush. And after you make these, this life-changing decision to buy their products, you're going to be so happy. You know who else is going to be happy? Whoever your significant other is. Trust me. I know. I'm patient zero here. It's 100% true. You will definitely be smelling better. You will feel more confident. And all you have to do to afford it is use the promo code BELLYUPFANTASY, and you'll get a 20% off and free shipping when you go to manscaped.com. Get their Perfect Package 3.0 kit. It comes with the Essential Lawnmower 3.0 waterproof cordless body trimmer and a ton of other liquid formulations to round out your grooming routine. So use the promo code BELLYUPFANTASY for 20% off and free international shipping. So now I got to pull this thing back up. And in the meantime, after Chad made his Hubbard pick, went Trask, went Ramondre Stevenson by the computer there, and then Chris was up on the board. Chris, where did you go?
I went with Adam's boy, Elijah Moore.
Ooh. If you guys didn't notice that earlier in the stream, Adam was having a heart attack while Chris was trying to make this pick. Like, no, don't do it to me. This is tremendous value, by the way. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, at number one, it's tremendous value. Adam sold me. I watched some more tape after watching the show last week, and I was really impressed. And I've actually heard some Antonio Brown comparisons, and I don't think that's too far off. So I was definitely impressed. And it's also a payback to Adam for taking Bateman. I wanted to make sure that's my boy. So that's kind of my payback in some senses. But like I said, I think it's a great value, and I do think that this guy's going to be tremendously productive. He's definitely a slot receiver, but he makes people miss. He's explosive. He tracks the ball well in the air. I think he's going to be a really good player.
Yeah, that's tremendous because Elijah Moore, I mean, he's looked at as one of these guys that he could be amongst the top ones. He could be in the Terrace Marshall area and those guys. So I'm surprised to see Elijah Moore come here down into the third round. After that was Hunter Long, another crappy tight end, Kylan Hill, Jamar Jefferson, and then we get the Adams pick of Tutu Atwell. Adam, before you go, Chad, you were debating with Kylan Hill. What do you think about him going at the 7th pick in the 3rd round there?
I mean, I love it. If I were, it's the computer who has him. Let's see, Brevin Jordan.
Yes.
You know what? Like, if you look at those 3 picks there, that's a good setup. That's a really good setup. He's got a wide receiver. I heard Waddle could potentially be going to Miami this year. They might be spending their pick on Waddle. If he's in Miami, then they don't have wide receivers. He's going to fit right in there right away. Brevin Jordan, like I already said my thoughts on him. He's right now, depending on how much he's eating, he is my tight end sleeper pick. And then Kylan Hill, he's that diamond in the rough running back I have this year in this class.
Yeah, that computer team is putting together a nice little combination there. So, Adam, you lose out on Elijah Moore. You back it up with Tutu Atwell because I guess you just want to go even smaller. I don't know. Explain that.
Yeah. So at this point, we're getting a little deep in the draft. There was no one at the ADP that I was just falling in love with. In a real draft, this is again another situation where I would try to shop the pick. I would try to accumulate picks. But of the guys that were in near the ADP that I was at, he's the one who I felt the biggest boom or bust potential, and I just wanted to come to gamble. You know, he's someone who I think in the right system could get an explosive role, not necessarily a high volume role, but could be, pretty explosive if a team were to use him the right way. Obviously, there's the crazy size concerns. He's literally, skin and bones. He's very small, but he's also very fast, gets really good separation, not maybe the best route runner. However, catches in traffic a lot better than I expected for someone his size, at least out on the perimeter. So yeah, I just wanted to gamble pretty much.
Dahar, what do you think about his Atwell pick?
I mean, I think it was actually a good move. I think he's actually one of the sleepers in this draft as a slot receiver, particularly. A lot of people focus on his size. He reminds me a lot of like a Wes Walker or even Julian Edelman. He gets in and out of his breaks really quickly. Guys don't really get a good hit on him, so his size doesn't really necessarily hurt him. And he's tough. He's not a guy who's been injured a lot in college. And from everything I hear from out of Louisville, he's one of the guys that they always consider a playmaker. Teams that play against them are always worried about where he is on the field. He can make people miss. And like I said, he's really good at getting in and out of his breaks. And I think he's going to be run those option routes really well out of the slot. And I actually think he's going to be a volume guy. I think he's going to get a lot of production because I think he's going to be quicker for a lot of guys to be able to cover him.
All right. So after Adam made his pick, and I'm going to let him make his next pick now. Came off the board was Jared Patterson and Dwayne Eskridge. Neither one, I think, has a ton of upside. I think it does have a ton of upside? The two guys I took, Tamarian Terry and Khalil Herbert. I want to start with Herbert. I was actually ecstatic that I got him to kick off the 4th round in this draft. This is a guy who I think had he started his career in Virginia Tech and not started in Kansas, I think we'd be talking about him a lot more and a lot higher and a lot more along the lines of the top 4 guys, quite frankly, because he has some of the best vision, I think, in this class. He's very, very good between the tackles. He makes excellent cuts. I really like him a lot. The question is going to be not just where he winds up. My more question for him is actually going to be the draft capital, because I don't think he's going to be a great special teams guy. I question how fast he can get on the field. So it's going to be, does a team take him? They're going to probably take him the 4th, 5th round in the NFL draft. Are they going to be willing to actually give him a legitimate shot is going to be more my question. But he has the talent, I believe, to be a real sleeper guy there. Chad, what do you think about Khalil Herbert?
Khalil Herbert, you know what? I really wish he was related to Justin Herbert there, but unfortunately he's not. I'm trying to, as soon as you mention his name there, like I just read something about him maybe 3-4 weeks ago, and it was a really good piece breaking it down. And I want to pull something from there, but I can't without knowing full well what I'm saying here. So I gotta pass on this comment here because I don't want to get my
that's fine, because the other pick that I made was Tamarian Terry. And the reason I make the Tamarian Terry pick here is because he is the only, well, I shouldn't say the only, but one of the other few perimeter wide receivers that I believe you're going to find in this draft class in Florida State. He's a guy who can go up, he can make the catch in traffic with the best of them. I don't love his separation. In fact, there's probably next to zero separation, but this guy could come in and be a true red zone threat right off the bat and actually be a perimeter receiver for a team, maybe help them out. Hopefully he turns more into an Alshon Jeffrey rather than a Hakeem Butler, but that's where his kind of range really is. Adam, I saw you smirk. So Adam, what were your thoughts on Tamarian Terry?
Oh, no, I was smirking. One of the CPUs drafted a DB. So
yeah, I saw that too. I don't know how that happened. This is not supposed to be an IDP league, so we're just going to kind of skip on off of that and act like that never happened. I saw your defensive lineman kind of went too. Can I change this midway through?
You can. You can click on him.
So I'm going to work on that, and somebody give me their thoughts on Tamarian Terry, my pick there at the end of the 3rd round.
Well, as you know, I'm a huge Terry fan. It's one of the guys, averaged 18 yards per catch at Florida State. They have no quarterback play or Florida State the last couple of years. Guys been able to put up numbers. While I understand some of the questions of separation, he's not slow. He's a long strider. He reminds me a lot of Braylon Edwards. I think that he has the ability to go attack the ball, and I think he also has the ability to make people miss. He's got good feet. I heard a lot of knocks on Cortland Sutton coming out about his separation and about what kind of receiver he was going to transition to be. Wise, tall receivers, if you have good feet, I don't question that as much because I see you guys make guys miss. I see how you're able to get in out of your breaks. It's about learning how to properly route run. So I think this guy's actually got a lot of upside, And I wouldn't be surprised, as I kind of talked to you before, about if he doesn't kind of mirror Cortland Sutton in a lot of ways.
I just don't know if he's that explosive, but he does have that perimeter skill set, and that's what you're kind of doing here. When you get the late third round, fourth round, you're taking shots on guys who might have a potential in a certain skill set. And I have IDP turned off, so apparently Sleeper it has his mind of its own and it's doing what it wants to do. Chad, what do you have for us?
You know what I was going to say about Terry there? He's been inconsistent catching the ball too, though. So that's one thing. That's one thing I would be concerned. But in this point in the rounds, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. But he has that size and speed that you guys have both mentioned. So he might offer something pretty quick.
I want to take this opportunity to put some advice out there in general. If you're in a 5-round rookie mock draft, don't draft a kicker, even if your league has a kicker. It's just like the NFL. All right. We just had the computer here. Not only has a mind of its own when it comes to these defensive guys, but they just drafted a kicker, Andrew Jakas. And don't draft a kicker. It traded like the NFL draft. You pick these guys up off a waiver wire. There's literally no reason for it. Take your chances on guys who are actually going to give you a shot to help out your dynasty teams. There's 32 kickers. There's going to be at most 12 teams in your dynasty league. Most likely for most of you out there, you'll be able to find a kicker. Trust me, there's no need to draft one. So just a little tidbit for you guys out there. We're going to let Chad make his next pick.
Yeah, here it comes, guys. This is probably my favorite late round pick here. It is Amari Rodgers. And the reason being is he is a wide receiver running back hybrid. He can work out of the slot. He can be a deep with his speed. He's able to run through down the field, make short catches. He can make long catches. He has a lot of options here, and he could be and because of his dual threat, we could see a little bit of work from him in 2021.
Howard, what do you think about Amari Rodgers? And then I'm sorry I skipped you. We can go back to your Dimitri Felton pick.
That's all good. I like Amari Rodgers. I think he's got some upside. As Chad kind of pointed out, he can play inside. He can play the outside. He gets in and out of his routes pretty well. One of the things I question, I think that he ran decently at 40, but I don't know if he's necessarily has the game take speed that you kind of see. The separation was there at some times, but I also don't always think it was as much as you kind of expected it to be. But I do think overall it's a solid pick. And as you know, we're talking about later in these rounds, you're trying to find guys who have got some upside. He definitely has upside potential.
I'm going to add this in, and the audience watching just isn't going to know what I'm talking about initially, but who in the hell is Felipe Franks? Now, I know who it is, but I'm saying I know who it is, but I want to lead off even then, I would Kellen Mond hasn't even come off the board. I'm like, I would still take Kellen Mond before some of these guys coming off the board. Him and Ian Brooks, just insane what this computer is doing to us right now. Dimitri Felton. This is another guy who's kind of like Kenneth Gainwell. Is he going to be a running back? Is he going to be a wide receiver? I think that's a big question that you're trying to find out.
Receiver.
Yeah, but he's listed as running back. He's listed as running back everywhere. Even in the NFL draft, he's listed as running back.
Yeah, that's why I took him, but he's going to play receiver, slot receiver, everything I hear.
Yeah, he is that Ty Montgomery type. Not quite the same build. I don't want to get that twisted, but that guy who's going to be a tweener. And like Ty Montgomery, who kind of in the reverse should have probably been a running back from the get-go rather than a receiver. This is a guy who needs to be a receiver rather than a running back right off the bat. He's just not built to take on that punishment. I kind of think the same way of Kenneth Gainwell. I don't think he's built to take on that kind of punishment, and it kind of limits what their ceilings could possibly be. I mean, Kenneth Gainwell, he would have a much better ceiling if he just went in as a slot receiver right off the bat. And that's kind of how I feel about Dimitri Felton as well. Let's make Chad make his pick in the 5th round. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I think that he kind of proved that when he went to the Senior Bowl. That's why he was so impressive, and that's why I think he's going to play receiver. Scouts actually saw him since that point pretty much primarily be receiver. His pro day, he played most of the receiver. I think that's kind of people catching up to what he's actually going to do. That's why it's listed him at running back. But I think you're going to see him clearly be a slot receiver in the league.
When we talk about this with Kadarius Toney, one of the problems that we kind of run into with guys like this is when they are tweeners, it takes them a while to get on the field. But when you're talking about Dimitri Felton, I do believe he's going to be involved in special teams, which will kind of help his cause a little bit. When you're looking at these players in these later round picks, if they actually have a chance to play special teams, they might actually get on the field at their position a little bit quicker as well. So Chad comes back. Chad is the wide receiver man. He came back with Seth Williams. What you got, Chad?
You know what? right from the get-go, I feel like this draft is a wide, unless you're not going to get one of your favorite running backs, or you're not getting one of the top 3-4 running backs out there. Focus on the wide receivers, man. Get those tight ends, or get the value of the quarterbacks if this is a one quarterback league in that second or third round if you can. But how I'm operating this is I'm going wide receiver heavy, and then when we do the regular draft, I'm gonna get my running backs who are already playing. I'm gonna get my quarterbacks who are already playing. I just really believe these wide receivers this year are gonna be similar to last year, where we got to see them be able to play at the NFL level, and that's difficult to do year one. It really is. I don't think they're all gonna hit. I hope they do, but I'm hoping that my guys hit more than all of your guys's. But Seth Williams is my boom or bust wide receiver of this class. I think he at best he can beat any defensive back, but thing is though, he does. I don't know if he has the work ethic or focus to make it. And
Adam, what's a dynasty strategy of because I agree with what Chad's saying overall, and I think it's an actual strategic point to be made here. What's the overall strategy of going heavy wide receiver, knowing that you probably have a taxi squad to be able to hold these guys onto, versus just taking, I don't know, a plethora of running backs or any other position?
I mean, I think especially once we get into these later rounds, I mean, I'd never want anyone to fully go by need, but if you can find a guy who is, someone you like the traits of and is in a position of need, I mean, even if, that guy may not be an immediate starter, you're just like, down the line, I think he has what it takes to potentially be a guy. Go after it and get him, especially when it's, a deep position like receiver this year,
I agree with you there, man. I'm a big proponent. It comes to a point where you need to start. I am very comfortable reaching, whether it's his redraft or dynasty, I'm very comfortable reaching for the guy who I want, even if it's a few spots later. It's worth it because there's come back to you.
Yeah, exactly. There is a big difference between reaching by 6 spots and reaching by a round. Like, if I know a guy's going to come up before next time I get the pick and I like him, even if it's a little bit of a reach now, I'll take it. Nothing is a reach if it hits. If it hits, whatever your draft value was doesn't matter if it hits.
That is some great Confucius knowledge there, getting dropped by Adam. Dowhauer, you went with Marquez Stevenson, keeping the wide receiver train alive. Before you jump into it, I kind of want to comment on this whole thing in general. Yeah, because one thing that comes with the wide receivers is that more of them are going to get opportunities to play. So if you have guys that have a special skill set, whether it be being explosive or being great in the red zone, being great in catching traffic, when you get to this point, none of these guys are going to be great at all of them. They're not. You're looking for a special skill set in one of these guys that might give them an edge if they get a particular shot. And just taking these wide receivers later on, there's more of a chance they're going to get on the field than taking these running backs who, frankly, may never sniff the field, especially if they don't play special teams in particular. So that's why I do encourage most people, if you get in this point and there's not a player of need that you're necessarily looking for, or that player of need doesn't match the value that you're looking for, wide receiver is really the way to go, because that's where the lottery tickets seem to happen at this point in the draft. So Dowhauer, you went with the wide receiver too, and Marquez Stevenson. Talk about him a little bit.
I think for me, I was kind of looking for the explosive player that has the upside. As Chad kind of pointed out, you're looking for guys that you like your skill set, and you're looking for an opportunity that they hit some kind of way. You have an opportunity to blow up. I like guys that are fast. I like guys who can get in and out of their breaks quickly. So I was kind of debating. Schwartz had a great 40, probably the best 40, I think, and all the guys who ran at their college this year. I think he ran like a 4.26 or something like that. But Stevenson ran like a 4.3. And when I watch him on game tape, he popped up me his sophomore year, where I was like, who's this guy watching the Houston games? And he was just explosive. And since then, he didn't disappoint me last year. I like his skill set, and I think he's actually a little bit undervalued in some senses, because people think he's just a fast guy. He's not. He can actually do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. keeping the wide receiver train alive. I will mention Kellen Mond finally went in the 5th round. Now, I'm not a big proponent of Kellen Mond, but I mean,
over kicker.
Yeah,
Finally
exactly.
hit their kicker.
Over the Ian Book and Felipe
Yeah,
Franks, too.
exactly. Like that's like come on, or at least there is some natural ability built in there. Adam, with his last pick in the 5th round, he went with Smith Marset. Give me some little tidbits about Smith Marset, because that's a name that really has not been mentioned much, and I don't think a lot of people know a lot about this guy.
Oh, I love him out of Iowa. First and foremost, at this stage, I think it is, as has been mentioned, valuable to get someone who has special teams experience. And not only does he have special teams experience, he's a very good kick returner, or at least was at Iowa. A lot of people have called him a potential gadget guy. I don't believe it. I think he's got very good hands. I think like a what's his name? Like Terry, he's someone who testing wise didn't have great speed and isn't getting crazy separation, or at least in Smith Marset's case, doesn't on short routes, but he's got a long stride, and when he goes deep, he can get that separation. He's a little on the slimmer side and doesn't get off the press crazy well. So that will probably limit him to being a bigger slot receiver, or at least maybe a 2 with a little bit of space. But I think at this point, I'm comfortable with something like that.
Yeah, at this point, you're taking your chances. I mean, How do you have anything to add to that?
No, I mean, I think Adam made a great point. This guy, he has got a nice skill set. I do question whether or not he could play on the outside or not, but he's aggressive, and I like guys who attack the ball. I like guys who are willing to mix it up, and he's a guy that's not only tough, he is definitely a long strider. He can get you once he gets on top of you, which corners kind of surprised, I think, by how quickly he can get up because he's a long strider. He's able to kind of get that geared and gets by you. It's hard for guys to catch up, and he uses his body well. So I think he's got a lot of combination of things that make him be a very productive pro.
So I'm up as Mr. Irrelevant. I can't find this player, but he hasn't been drafted. I know he's out there. But I'm going to go ahead and take Tommy Tremble with my last pick in the 5th round. I'm going to take my guy versus Brevin Jordan, and I got him in the 5th round because he's actually going to block. He's actually going to see the field earlier, and people underrate his athletic ability. He's not going to be the greatest route runner ever, and he's not always going to have the best hands, but he can stretch the seam. And what I like more about him than anything else, it's going to depend on where he goes, but he could play in an H-back role. He could play in a situation where he could be a fullback and play in that role. I like his versatility quite a bit, along with his athletic ability. I'm curious to hear Chad's thoughts about Tommy Tremble.
Yeah, you know what? It's good. I like talking about tight ends. They're my favorite to really research.
You just had an article come out about him. So.
I did, and I'm gonna bring it. I was just about to bring this up because he's being drafted for his blocking ability, and when it comes to fantasy production, your tight end, if he's primarily a pass or run blocker, they're not going to put up numbers for you. It's one of the easiest things to identify for you to not have that headache in that tight end position every single year. If you can draft or pick up off waivers a pass catching tight end, or one that does not spend a majority of his time blocking, he's going to have success. Now, Tommy Tremble here, if he's being drafted as a blocking tight end, they do say he has Latin receiving ability, and he could be like a Will Disley type. He's gonna be a blocker, and he might come out of the gate and work with the pass catching coaches wherever he lands. And he could bloom into that pass catching tight end. He's going to be on the field. But if you're good at blocking, you're going to be on the field. And if you can develop your hands, you can transition.
And that's kind of what I'm going for in that you'll get on the field, and he has the athletic ability. This isn't a Nick Boyle or a Max Williams or these guys that are never going to catch the ball. This is a guy who has an opportunity to mold into something like that. I'll take my shot at tight end when I'm looking for these guys anyway. So let's recap, because we just went through our 5 rounds. So let's recap first with Chad's team. He had the 2nd pick, and we had Jamar Chase, Tylan Wallace, Chuba Hubbard. I like saying Chuba Hubbard. I know it's Chuba Hubbard, but I like saying Chuba Hubbard. It's one of the
reasons I drafted him. It just reminds me of Nick Chubb. He's a keeper of mine in my main league here, and I dig it. Chubb.
It's Chubba,
Yeah.
Chubba Bubba. That's going to be my nickname for him, Chubba Bubba. Amari Rodgers and Seth Williams. All right, we'll let Chad comment on his team in a minute. I want to hear Adam's opinion on Chad's 5 rookies there.
I really like it, especially those two. I also like Tylan Wallace. I like some I like Elijah Moore more as is well known at this point. But of the guys that went immediately around him, of De'Ami Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and of Kadarius Toney, I like him a lot more than any of those guys. So kudos in that regards. And then really of the running backs left, I wouldn't say Hubbard's my favorite, but again, up there. And the Amari Rodgers, Seth Williams, those darts, you're just, trying to get guys that can get value. I'm not a huge Seth Williams guy. However, with the size, he profiles as someone that, could be incredibly productive. And I do think Amari Rodgers is a really interesting prospect as well.
All right, Chad, how did you feel coming away with those 5 guys?
Yeah, you know what? I don't feel good about Tylan Wallace so much with my second pick. I would prefer to have Terrace Marshall there. That's who I was hoping for. That's who I'd love to get in my Dynasty League this year. We'll see how it goes. But I feel like Jamar Chase, I think he's going to be the best wide receiver out of this rookie class. And wide receivers just typically have a longer career. And that's why I focused on wide receivers here.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that. So again, Chad had the second pick. This was a snake draft because it's a startup rookie draft. It was a 1 quarterback league draft for those of you who may be just joining now, just so you guys all understand the parameters. Dowhauer, will go to you, and I'll comment on your team first before I hear what you have to say. And I like it a lot. I mean, there's nothing really to hate here. I love the Kyle Pitts pick at number 5 because of everybody. I love guys like Jamar Chase, and I love Najee Harris, and I love Javonte Williams, and I love Jalen Waddle, and I love all those guys. Kyle Pitts has a chance to be the biggest difference maker because take a look at Travis Kelce and what he does from not just I don't know why my camera just went out here, but not just from a redraft perspective of what he does year in and year out, but the way he can dominate and set up your team and how it's built. That's the biggest thing for me. The way he can build out the rest of his team, because now you have a dominant tight end. It's a position that's going to be of weakness for just about everybody else except for Dowhauer now. That's the biggest difference. So that's why I really, really like that pick there. I thought it was a smart pick there at number 5. And then I like Mac Jones a lot because I think right now, the way we have things set up at the moment, there's a good chance Mac Jones winds up in the 49ers. And he's going to be in a good offensive system. He's going to have a high floor at the very least. As Adam said, he's going to be a high-end QB2. I think he actually has a little bit more Matt Ryan in him, so I think he can be more of a low-end QB1 given his situation. And then Elijah Moore might have been the steal of this draft with the 5th pick in the 3rd round. I don't think there's any doubt about that from any of us, quite frankly. And then you have Demetric Felton and Marquez Stevenson, 2 guys that if they run up in the right situations because the skill sets that they have could actually be something and not just taxi squad guys. So, Chris, I really did like your draft a lot. Go ahead and comment on what you felt about that while I try to fix my camera.
All right. I mean, I got a little nervous there when I saw Adam taking all the players that I like. So I wasn't really sure what was going to fall to me because I love Carter, as everybody knows, as well. So I was like, Bateman, Carter off the board. But I feel like I tried to recover. I'm a Matt Jones fan, not just because I think he can be Matt Ryan. I look at some other quarterbacks. I think we're getting a little too consumed with the guys that have legs to be fantasy relevant. Tom Brady
you have to have 2 legs, otherwise you can't play football.
Well, you know what I mean. Well, I'm too focused on the legs, I should say. That to be fantasy relevant. I think that you see a lot of, like, you saw Tom Brady be productive, really fantasy relevant. You've seen Peyton Manning be very fantasy relevant. I think guys who can play in the pocket can be productive. I don't think you have to necessarily be mobile. I understand I'm concerned about the upside. Is he only going to throw 20 touchdowns, 25 touchdowns? This guy put up the same numbers Joe Burrow did last year. And this guy put up the same numbers Tua put up the year before he did. So I don't necessarily think that – and he throws one of the best deep balls, I think, in his draft, which gives me more excitement that I think he has big play potential, that even he doesn't have a lot of opportunity to throw the ball as much as the 49ers, he might not need to because he can still get the big plays. And then as we talked about Elijah Moore, Adam definitely sold me on Elijah Moore. Like I said, I went back and watched the tape, and I'm super impressed with this guy. I think he's kind of I'll throw two Pittsburgh receivers. Like I said, I heard some Antonio Brown comparisons, but I think he's more like a Deontay Johnson in a lot of ways. And I see that he has a skill set that people have a hard time keeping him in front of them. He gets away from people. He's a big play machine slot position. Felton's another guy where I feel like because of how he's kind of built, and I think how he's kind of he transitioned, I think, really well. Like I said, people are really impressed with him at the Senior Bowl. I think he has opportunity to be productive in a slot position. And he's not going to be one of the guys like, one of those guys you blow on and falls over. He can make people miss. He can break tackles, which I think is hard for a lot of these corners to match up, especially the slot corners in today's league. And then Stevenson, I just like the speed. I like the quickness. And I'm hoping that he runs up the right opportunity. You see, like I'd love to see him in Green Bay, for example. Give him a right chance to be that number 2, number 3 receiver, and he can take top off of defenses.
I like it. All right, so Adam, he took Rashad Bateman, Trey Sermon, Tutu Atwell, Larry Roundtree, and Smith Marset. Chad, I want to hear your comments on Adam's teams first.
All right, Adam's team. I was thinking Adam's team is low-key going to be pretty darn good. Like at the start, I like your team the most here, Dan. But Adam's team is good. I think he's going to be sneaky good. I'm not going to lie, Adam. Like Rashad Bateman, where do you think he's going to go? Where do you think he'll end up?
I mean, there's a big wide range on him right now, right, Adam?
Yeah.
Yeah. He could go a lot of places.
Like Rashad Bateman, if he's going to get that spot, if he's going to get a good spot, Rashad Bateman he could be a steal. He'll be.
What if he wound up in Green Bay?
I would love it in Green Bay. I think it would be amazing. I just don't really consider MVS and is what's his name? Is he still on the team?
The better St. Brown?
Funches?
Well, Funches is still on the team.
Yeah, he's still on the
Scantling,
team.
and then Lazard.
Oh, Lazard.
Like Lazard. I mean, Lazard. Alan Lazard started having a really good year when a few good games when Devontae Adams went down, and he did that the year prior too, though. But he got injured and he could just never get the rhythm going back. So is Lazard really their number 2? Is he the answer that they believe in? You listen to every single Green Bay fan; they're super upset with them drafting Jordan Love last year. They wanted a wide receiver to go with Adams.
So is Aaron Rodgers.
Like is Rashad? I think if Rashad Bateman's that guy, I feel like it could be almost like a Chase Claypool situation here, where he's going in as the number 3, number 4. He was never number 4, but number 3 guy, or 4 guy, and then he's just going to surprise everyone one day through training. He's going to be low key. Everyone's going to be like, "Hey, have you heard about Chase Claypool? Everyone was saying that leading up in that last year, and then he came out and he did well. He did really well. Rashad, I feel like Rashad Bateman can have that same type of impact if he's on a team like Green Bay. If he's going to a competing team, I feel like he's going to do really well this year.
Yeah, 100%. All right,
Yeah.
Adam, what do you think about your team?
Yeah, so on the Bateman statement, I just want to say, and I don't want to compare them as a 1-to-1 because I think player comps are, can get a little tough that way. But I feel like the situation, not the players, but the situation are very similar between him and Justin Jefferson, in that they're getting pushed down because they're more complete players and they aren't as flashy.
My comp. Go ahead.
Yeah. but yeah, I think he will get pushed down because of that. But I really think he's going to be a productive perimeter guy, which, there's so many really cool project receivers like a Terrace Marshall. And then there's all these great slots like, both the Moores and, the other 2 receivers that I got that I'm, a big fan of getting him at the end of the first. On Trey Sermon, I like the prospect of Ramondre Stevenson more, but I think just with how versatile, with how balanced Trey Sermon is, I feel comfortable taking him. And regardless of where he lands, as long as he has a path to playing time in any way, shape, or form, I think he can get it done. Whereas Ramondre Stevenson, I think he's in one role. Trey Sermon, I feel whatever the weakness of the starter is.
That too is that I think Trey Sermon's going to get drafted. From what it sounds like right now, the way things are going, Trey Sermon's going to have more draft capital invested in him, which is going to be big as well. Just to kind of belabor your point there.
Yeah, yeah. And then, as I said earlier with Tutu Atwell, I'm, just trying to take a home run there. If the size problems, give me problems, then that's that. I can live with that. I'm really with Tutu Atwell and Smith Marset. I'm hedging my bets that one of them is a productive NFL receiver, and if it's one of the two, I'm happy with that, to be honest with you. Then with Larry Roundtree, I've been burnt doing this before, and I'm I'm comfortable if it happens again because it's the 4th round of a 5-round draft. But I don't care that he ran a 4.7. I don't care because on tape he accelerates really well. He just may not have any crazy top end speed, but he accelerates well. I think he's got quick feet. Once again, not a top end speed, but he's a super high motor guy. And honestly, if anything, he needs to slow down and be a little bit more patient than anything else. But I think of these late round backs, there's really none of them that have the size to stay in and pass block other than him. I think he can get on the field that way. I almost feel similar to him as a prospect. And granted, it took him a long time to get on the field, but Peyton Barber is almost a similar guy to him. We're obviously not a great receiver in college, not a great athlete in college, but came in, became a productive pass blocker, became a little more patient,
and got on the field
and got a role. Yeah, exactly. And then once again, Smith Marset, I think he's got those long strides, and I think he's despite his skinny frame, I think he's a lot tougher than people give him credit for. You have to be to play at Iowa, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a fair point as well. All right, Dowhauer, you can critique my team. Go for it.
Well, let's see. Let me get to your team. I mean, first of all, I love your Michael Carter pick. I think Michael Carter is my second back coming into this draft. You talked about his big playability. I think people like to knock his size, but he's not built like he's a little, you can't blow him, knock him over. He's definitely a solid guy. He's about 5'7", 5'8", about 205. I think he weighed in at. But this guy's change the balance, his speed. He's gonna have the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. I think you got a home run threat in your hands, and I think a guy that's going to actually hit the league by storm this year. Zach Wilson, another guy who, top of my board. I mean, I've been battling all year long about whether it's him or Trey Lance. I'd go with Zach Wilson. Makes all those throws that people ooh and ah over. People question the competition he played against, but I think to your point that going to the Jets, I think it's actually a really good situation for him. That coaching scheme, that Kyle Shanahan scheme really fits what he does well. He's able to throw on the run better than most quarterbacks can. His RPO action, he has one of the quickest hands in this draft, and I think he's going to be productive more so than any of the Jets quarterbacks we've seen lately, of course. But I also think he's got legs, and people don't realize, you talk about legs, but he's got the kind of legs that he can actually run and do something with. People seem to not.
Great.
Yeah, exactly. But people seem to have that idea that he's some kind of pocket quarterback, or he's not in the same kind of stratosphere as a Trey Lance. He ran faster than Trey Lance in the 40. And he's more athletic, and his yards per rush was pretty high up there. Like I said, he's great in RPO. His hands, he's got quick hands. He's great to play action, one of the best play action passers in this draft. So I think he's got upside. I love that pick. I mean, you really hit the home with all of my favorite guys in this. And Terry, we talked about before. I'm a big Terry fan. I think that I was disappointed in the 40 that he ran, but I also say that when you watch him play, this guy is, had 18 yards per catch last year and one of the bigger playmakers in the league. So somehow he's getting deep and getting open on people. He's not always jumping over everybody. And he's got better feet than people realize. He has plenty. You can watch the tape. You can see him catching screens and making people miss. I think he's got a good skill set. And then I think we talk about Herbert. This is a player that's going to need opportunity. But I think it's going to be one of those guys that's a coach's favorite that may give him that opportunity because he does a little bit of everything well. It reminds me of kind of an old Deuce Staley. For some people remember who Deuce Staley was, but a guy who can block a little bit, catch a little bit, make some plays. He's got good feet, like he's a division. And I think what you're going to see him have opportunity is if there's a team, you make a team like San Francisco, where all they're looking for is the guy to hit the hole and make sure he hits it and and is productive. He's going to have opportunity on getting some playing time because he does all the little things well. And I think that's something that he's just going to depend on where he kind of winds up. Does he get buried on a depth chart somewhere, where he's got a shot where a coach is like, hey, you know what, this guy does what I ask him to do, and I'm gonna play him. So I think you got a lot of upside on your team, and overall, I think really nice draft.
No, you got to comment on the Tommy Tremble pick. Come on.
All right. So I skipped Tommy Tremble for a reason. No, I think the comp I would give Tommy Tremble. I heard some different comps thrown out there. I think he's Hayden Hurst. You and I had a kind of debate about Mark Andrews and Hayden Hurst going into that draft a couple of years ago, where we saw it kind of differently. I think this guy's more of a plotter. I don't think he's necessarily going to be very effective in the passing game. Maybe in the red zone, he could use something. I don't think he gets in out of his breaks very well. I do think he's a good blocker. And as the chat point, he's going to get on the field because he's a blocker. I don't necessarily think that penalizes him, because I look at something like T.J. Hockenstein. He's been more productive than Noah Fant has been in the league. So I think that being a blocking tight end doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to be productive out there. But I think that does mean that you might get pigeonholed in some roles, and it might be harder for you on certain teams to get opportunity. I think he'd be a great fit. If he goes to the Colts, then I'll sing a different tune. Otherwise, I'm kind of questionable what he winds up doing.
Speaking of, just keep you guys all updated on current events, a lot of rumors right now surrounding Zach Ertz and the Indianapolis Colts in a trade potentially by this weekend at the moment. So we'll see what happens there. A nice little Frank Reich, Carson Wentz, Zach Ertz possible reunion going to Indy. Just to keep you guys updated on that. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with my team overall. Michael Carter is the explosive guy. He is the home run factor that I'm looking for with that pick, especially in the back end of the first round. Najee Harris is gone. Travis Etienne is gone. Javonte Williams is gone. And I believe if you can get one of the top running backs of what is a weak running back draft class, you have to be able to take that shot. So Michael Carter falling to me at pick 12, frankly, was a blessing in and of itself, in my opinion. Where he winds up at is really anybody's guess. He's another one who's got a wide range as far as the NFL draft goes. This is a guy who could be going as high as the second round or as low as the fifth round, depending upon what you think about Michael Carter right now. So he's going to be interesting to watch on draft day. But he's going to have that home run hitting ability that more times than not will get its opportunity from teams out there, especially since we live in the committee age. So that's what I'm looking for out of Michael Carter, kind of take that. And because he plays a lot bigger than what he is, reminds me so much of Ahmad Bradshaw and the way he runs and the way he plays the game, so much of Ahmad Bradshaw. If he gets that kind of role, maybe I have a hard time with keeping him healthy all the time, but when he's out there, he's going to be a hell of productive. Zach Wilson, I can't say enough about this guy. I think he truly is a franchise quarterback. I think he could be the quarterback who turns the Jets around. I think there's a very good chance that winds up happening. And while the Jets don't have weapons I'm crazy over, Corey Davis, Jamison Crowder, Denzel Mims developing, that's a pretty decent nucleus there to be able to work off of, and they all fit each other really well. Corey Davis gets to be the intermediate guy on the outside. Denzel Mims gets to stretch the field. Jamison Crowder gets to operate over the middle of the field. So he's going to have the weapons in place already, and he's going to have the veteran guys to go to, and that's going to be the big thing for him, especially in that system leading off where they can all kind of be versatile, interchangeable within that Shanahan-esque system. We still got to see how well they do calling the plays, but it will be that Shanahan-esque system. And that's kind of why I want to skip ahead real quick to Khalil Herbert. I want him to either go to San Francisco or New York, because my comp for him is a much more explosive Jeff Wilson. It reminds me a lot in that kind of way. We see how effective Jeff Wilson can be in that role. I think Khalil Herbert has a little better vision. I think he's more explosive through the line of scrimmage, but he does that little bit of everything type of thing that Jeff Wilson also brings to the table. So that's why I'm kind of hoping he goes and gets his shot. He has to go somewhere where a running back who gets drafted later has a history of getting an opportunity. And that typically winds up being Shanahan-like systems. So if we go in the Jets, you go in the 49ers, some of that, it's kind of hope where he winds up at, because then I know he'll get a chance at some point, if not from injury, just because they will usually give those guys later picks later on. And then Tamarian Terry, yeah, I'm big on what he can bring to the table. I think the perimeter receiver is not dead, guys. And a lot of these teams are acting like everything's about the slot, everything's about the small, fast guy. Eventually, you need somebody who can get big and go make a catch over 2 or 3 guys. That's what he brings to the table. I'm curious to see where he winds up at, but he has a specific role, and it's a touchdown type of role, which can be very, very valuable from fantasy. And then Tremble, I'm going to get Tremble in the 5th round because he is a project, but I will take guys who are going to get on the field, I believe, more quickly and see what they can become otherwise, especially in the 5th round, and see what happens there. All right, so everyone's pretty happy with their teams. Let's do this. Let's start with Adam. You can't select your own team. Pick one of our 3 teams that you think are the best ones. Which one's the best one? But you can't pick your own.
I gotta go, Chris, for sure. Getting that first 3, especially. I will never say enough. I will never get enough out about Elijah Moore. You get by far the best tight end of the draft. There is no bigger gap in any other position than between, well, I guess if we're talking technically, than interior defensive line. But in skill positions, there's no bigger discrepancy between tight end 1 and tight end 2 than any other position of the draft. So get your Kyle Pitts, who's, I think, going to be the most productive rookie tight end we've seen in a long time. Mac Jones, like I said, I'm not going to act as if I'm the highest on him here, but he's, a super, like, he's a guy that you can have as your starting quarterback in a 1 quarterback. And if the rest of your team is stacked, you will be very good. Love Elijah Moore. And then the other 2 guys, I think, are very good dart throws, if not guys that are good sleeper picks, really.
Chad, who do you think has the best team, not your own?
I'm going with you, Dan, and a lot of the reasons you brought up were selling Khalil Herbert and Tamarion Terry. That's what got me for you there. You were saying how well, besides the tight end at the end there, we'll see how he turns out. But you're saying like Terry's bringing that big body aspect that not a lot of the other wide receivers have, except maybe Terrace Marshall. But you're getting him around less, so you're getting that value because you're getting Zach Wilson that exact same round, and you're going to have a quarterback who's going to be starting right away, and he's going to be going into a system built around him. Everything's going to be new there. Everything is brand new, and everything's going to be built around him. If he is the quarterback prospect they believe he will be, and Michael Carter, like you said, out of the top 3 big running backs there, Michael Carter offers the explosiveness to really, really push in and get some activity on the field. And did you mention I wasn't sure if it was him you guys were talking about here, but he doesn't have the long, like he doesn't have the explosiveness from the line. Did someone mention that?
No, I find Michael Carter very explosive.
No, who were we talking? It could have been Stevenson, maybe. I might be mixed up here. Anyways, I think you have the best well-rounded team of everyone here, and that's what I love about the end of the draft. You get those back-to-back guys you just don't get later on. So kudos, you have a great team, I think.
Thank you, sir. All right, Dahauer, who's your favorite team, not your own?
So I keep going back and forth because I love what Adam did with his team. I think I give Adam the all-sleeper team in a lot of ways. I think he's got a lot. I mean, like when I look at it, though, he's got starters out through his lineup. And that's where I kind of look at guys who I think actually are going to start in the league. I think a lot of people talk about Trey Sermon as it could be a workhorse back, and that's kind of what his profile would be. Roundtree is very similar. I like Bateman a lot. We talked about, I think, to me, he's DeAndre Hopkins all over again in a lot of ways. So I like him, and Tutu Atwell I think is extremely underrated. I think he's going to be very productive. But I go with your team because the high-end potential, the Carter-Wilson pairing right off the bat is where you kind of sell me. And there were 2 of my favorite players in this draft. And I think you might walk away with the 2 best players in this draft, fantasy-wise, long-term. Like I said, I think Zach Wilson gets really underrated on his ability to use his legs and scramble and get yardage rushing, but he also can throw the ball. It reminds me a lot of Aaron Rodgers, and I think that he can be highly productive in the right system and right fit. Michael Carter, I think, is going to take the league by storm in a lot of ways because people just seem to think that because he's small, he's not that good. He's fast, he's quick, he can get in and out of his routes, he's going to catch the ball well. He's going to be really a pain in the butt to stick out of that backfield too. Those ankle routes, he's going to get a lot of big yardage and he'll have a lot of opportunity to make people miss. I'm a big Terry fan. Like I said, you talk about the red zone opportunities for him. I think he's actually a starter in this league long term. And I think Herbert actually can be a starter in this league long term. I think that Herbert's one of those guys that once he gets on the field, it's going to be hard to get him off the field. So I like your team overall, more so because I think you have the high-end factor. But I have to give Adams kudos. Like he found all the guys who are the sleeper each round in the sense, and the guys who actually probably have a chance to start in the league.
Adam's Billy Bean. He is the money ball man. There's
Yes,
no
yeah,
doubt about that. I like that quite a bit too. Don't worry, Dowhauer. I'm going to tie up who the best team is because I'm going to go with yours. So we're both going to have 2 votes apiece. I'm just blown away with that top 3 of Kyle Pitts, Mac Jones, Elijah Moore, and then having Demetric Felton and Marquez Stevenson. The fact that I see them really having roles, the fact that their special teams players are not going to get cut, so they are going to get their opportunities, and there are specific skill sets that they have that I think will allow them to play really well and actually get on the field and have an opportunity to do something. That's what you're looking for in those 4th and 5th round picks. And then just, like I said, Elijah Moore, he's a starting receiver somewhere year 1. He's going to have redraft value right off the bat. You got him in the 3rd round. So, again, that's just a steal of the draft at the end of the day. And, of course, Kyle Pitts and Mac Jones being on the 49ers gives you the value that you're kind of looking for out of those 2 as well. So we'll end it there at 2 apiece. But it was a lot of fun, guys. And like I said, we're going to do this in 2 weeks. We won't be back next week, but the week after for this show, we'll be back. We're going to do this again. And we're going to see how drastically different it's going to be once we actually know where these guys are. And with with their value, like Elijah Moore's a sleeper, but what if Elijah Moore, I don't know, winds up on Baltimore and all of a sudden he has no targets? So there's going to be things like that that are going to come out of this draft, and we're really going to get a chance to dive into that. Chad, I hope we have you back again for that show. We definitely would like to have you back, sir. You're awesome. Glad to have you on in this one. You just had an article come out today. I want to talk about that a little bit and what you have working on next and where to follow you.
Yeah, I just I mentioned earlier I just finished doing my free agency frenzy of tight ends. Finally, I wrapped it up with tight ends. That was the last position to go over, and I went over 5 tight ends who are on new teams this year and the new changes and what we can potentially expect to see from them based off of what's been left with them and what they're taking away with them to their new teams. And then my next project I want to work on here is actually going over the rookie running backs going into this draft. 4 to 5 of the top prospects.
Awesome. Everybody check that out.
Spots. I'm emphasizing on landing spots because I truly believe that's the most important factor for in year 1 fantasy output.
Absolutely. Where can we follow you at?
Oh yeah, you can follow me at FF Coffee Break on Twitter, and
awesome.
Yeah, hit me up there.
Awesome. Yeah, Chad is an excellent follow, has excellent content coming out 24/7. Adam, you've been working on the tiers for running backs. How's that going, and what else you got coming up for us soon?
Yeah, it's going well. I'll have hopefully tier 2 before the draft. Xavier University's been a little selfish and decided to schedule finals on draft week, which is really mean. Yeah, so I'm dealing with my last finals right now. But yeah, you can catch up with me at LaRue Adam. Real quick before we get out of here, guys, I just gotta ask: is there anyone undrafted that you would be eager to potentially get as one of your like as a buy to maybe stash in the taxi squad?
Nico Collins was going to be the guy I was debating with Tommy Tremble, another big-bodied wide receiver, kind of like a Tamarian Terry, maybe a little bit more explosive, but a bit more raw at the same time. But a Nico Collins coming out of Michigan is going to be the guy that I was going to contemplate taking that didn't get drafted.
Yeah, I think I was between at the end there, a Davis Mills, a Jalen Darden, and an Elijah Mitchell. Mitchell almost reminded me of, I think his pro day was a little misleading. I don't think he actually has that kind of speed, but patience-wise, I do consider him similar to like a Marlon Mack.
Adam's saying it was a 39-40, not a 40-40. Dower, come on, man. What are we doing this week, buddy?
It is draft week. So you're going to find this on Thursday, on Friday, from MDF's football show, from Belly Up, from everybody.
At Belly Up MDFF show.
Whatever. But regardless, you can find us everywhere, and you definitely want to tune in because we're one of the few shows that's going to cover all 3 aspects of the fantasy draft. We're going to cover football, we're going to cover fantasy, and we're going to cover betting. So you're not going to find that in one place. And I think that's one of the cool things we're going to bring to the table this Thursday and Friday. And as everybody kind of hinted and talked about, a lot of the key things about fantasy this year is where the guys are going to want to land and where their spots are going to be. We're going to be talking to you about that live. So you guys got to listen to us on Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, 100%. We're going to start at 7:30 on Thursday. We're going to have Kenneth Giles, the CEO from Symbol, SIMBULL. It's a new type of gambling app. It'll be really interesting. He's going to talk about that quite a bit. We'll have Mike Brown, the co-founder of Belly Up Sports, and we're going to have Chaz Filardi, our betting expert at Belly Up Sports, coming on from Sports Betting Weekly. They're going to kick off the show with us. Adam's going to join us for the first 5 picks along with 2 others. So we're going to talk about that as well. You're going to see him. Chad's going to be on there on Friday. He'll be there. So you're going to see the deep knowledge that Chad has, he brings to the table, which we desperately need when we're breaking down these players that later on in the draft, especially from a fantasy standpoint. We're going to have everything like Chris said. I had a tweet out the other day, one of the props going into it. I'm going to have a couple more leading into the draft, leading into our preview show. But one of the big things right now, I think this has actually changed even more significantly. Mac Jones sitting at -360 with Trey Lance at +275. Yes, while Mac Jones is the heavy favorite to go 3, there is close to at least a 50-50 shot of it being Trey Lance, meaning you want to take the shot on that bet. Don't bet a ton, but at +275, you don't have to bet a lot to get a lot of great odds. We're going to have a lot of betting props like that we're going to be going over throughout the draft. So that way, if it's not a fantasy relevant player, if it's not your favorite team, we're going to try to win you money. And there's going to be all the more reason why you need to be checking out the Belly Up Sports' MD's and BUFL's NFL draft coverage at 7:30 on Thursday. And we'll be back again on, and giveaways. And we'll be back again on 6:30 on Friday to preview and then kick off from 7 o'clock on Friday as well. We're going to have a couple Manscaped giveaways. We're going to have a Kong beer giveaway. And we'll see what else good old Mike Brown sends down from above for us to give away as well. Check us out at Belly Up MDFF Show. Check this show out. And the BUFL baseball is going to be on tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern. Check it out at Belly Up Fantasy. Kevin Wilson and Vince Stover do a great job with that show. They'll be on, and baseball will be kicking off, and it's been off to a hot start. And I've been having to listen to them every single week, and I'm off to a 2-0 start because I've been listening to them every single week so far. So make sure you go ahead and check them out too. Follow us at Belly Up Sports as well. Give us a shout out. We'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. Well, actually, no, we'll see you in 2 days, but this show will be back in a couple of weeks at 8:30 at Belly Up Fantasy on your social media accounts. Everyone take care, and we'll see you again real soon.
I guess.